started. I'm Christian Blavo, the managing editor of IndieWire. So excited to talk to you guys about Am I Okay? Here at Sundance. This is such a fun, like, buddy comedy. It has some romantic notes. It's about self-discovery. It's about kind of finding who you are, and it speaks to a lot of really personal themes. Lauren, I think we should start with you because, I mean, this movie is basically semi-autobiographical for you, right?
Yeah, it follows, it's based on my real life friendship with a woman named Jessica, who's also a producer on this movie, and my coming out story. And I sort of just merged the two to come up with this story. And it's got a lot of real life events and real life feelings and real life tears. Yeah, it's wild.
So just like the character played by Dakota in the film, you started to, think more about your sexuality as you got into your 30s. What was the process of putting that journey into the screenplay?
It was taking a real deep look inside. And this started as a friendship story. And once I was writing it, I kind of was like, what do I really want to say that hasn't been said before? And at the same time, I was sort of struggling with my sexuality and coming out. And it's something I just like buried real deep down and didn't want to talk about. And even with my best friend and with anyone. And then when I finally came out, I realized like, that is the story that I want to tell, which is the one that, shows that it can take a while to figure out who you really are and to admit who you really are. I think that was the hardest part for me because I think I knew, I just didn't want it to be true for a while. And so when I finally admitted it to myself, it was a lot easier to kind of tap into it and to write about it, which I never thought I would do. I never thought I would come out. I never thought I would talk about it. I never thought I would write about it. I never really saw it happening. But once it did, I realized like, yeah, this is hopefully something that other people can relate to.
So Tig and Stephanie, and first off, it's rare to have a married directing duo, and that this is your directorial debut is so impressive. What was it about the script that really did speak to you, and how did you first get involved with Lauren on this?
Lauren and I worked together previously and had a good time and felt like we, had a similar sensibility with comedy. And then she sent the script along, and it really spoke to both of us. I think, on a very personal level with Stephanie, because she came out in, it was before your 30. It was right around that mark.
20s, yeah. But yeah, I felt like it was later and it was a later discovery. And I had the same sort of internal struggle and obstacles that Lauren and Lucy had. And then I also feel like when Tig and I read the script, I think we both respond to things where you finish reading it and you're like, you have a lot to talk about and there's more to say and you can there's a lot of conversations, and we were just very into all the different themes and stories within it.
And Dakota, so like, how did you get involved with this? Because you're a producer on the film as well, in addition to, playing one of the lead characters. What was your journey to, finding this character?
Well, I met Tig because she did a stand-up set at my birthday party, my 30th birthday. And it was a surprise because she's my favorite comedian. And then we became friends, and Tig and Steph and Lauren sent me the script and asked if I wanted to get involved, and I asked if I could come on as a producer. And I loved it. I really wanted to work with them. I find usually a comedy set is like pretty fun to be on. And I had been working on some like darker projects, and it felt like a really nice thing to be doing with a lot of levity and fun and playfulness. And then it was during COVID, and a lot of it wasn't like that.
Really dark?
And then it was really dark and then I'm not very playful. But it was still pretty amazing. And it was a great learning experience to come on as a producer with some already really experienced producers, to be making that film we aimed to shoot the movie in 20 days and we shut down twice for COVID for 10 days each time. So it ended up being a 40-day shoot, which was nuts.
To have the production shut down like that for such a long time, and on your directorial debut, Stephanie and Tig, I mean, I can only imagine how much of a challenge that must have been.
It took a lot of kind of thinking about it and behind the scenes coaxing, and not against my will, but I really was pretty scared, to say the least. I've had some health issues that have gone awry, and I was just like, man, if I go down, and so, or if anybody does, and but we felt like the protocols made sense, and I felt like it's also the protocols of the film set that made me really understand COVID better, just having the different zones. And because I just thought, oh my gosh, if one person has COVID, we all have COVID. And so it put this crazy, obviously crazy extra stress on it. But I guess I don't know anything other than directing a movie.
It's your first movie, so this is now, you'll have this experience to bring with you forever, you know.
I have to say, I would say half of the time making this movie, I was thinking, there's no way we're going to finish this movie. There's just no way this is going to finish, because it kept shutting down, and we were
and then we would lose locations, and we would it caused so many. And even just doing a 20-day shoot like an indie, then all of a sudden Tig and I would just have these 10 days off, which was also odd.
So odd. And then there was a part of me that was like, this is kind of a nice schedule, just 10 days on, 10 days off. Sure.
Sonoya, you know, I love your character and her dynamic with Lucy, Dakota's character. So, you know, Jane, your character is very professional. She's really climbing the ladder. She's about to make a huge, you know, life decision. Tell us a little bit about the journey Jane is on.
Yeah, I think, you know, I could definitely relate to Jane in that way. And I think lots of people and, you know, women can, because she has this career that she's very ambitious about, and rightly so. But with that comes these difficult decisions when you have significant relationships, and I imagine that she probably wants to have a family, and, you know, she's in her 30s. So it's a really, I think it's a really significant time for her. And she, you know, her life is kind of nice. It's kind of great. She has this amazing best friend and this amazing boyfriend, and she has this great job, and she could kind of keep breezing along as she is. But I think when it all comes to a head, she really is like forced to look at what's really going on, and so she has to, you know, make some changes.
Yeah, and Jermaine, you know, Danny, your character, you know, we think, you know, he has such a connection to Jane, and, you know, we think that things are, you know, just perfectly copacetic there. You know, there may be more going on under the surface, though. You know, how did you approach your character?
I guess when I first started comedy, like my plan was to move to New York, and I expected all my friends to kind of come with me from back home in Maryland, and we would, you know, be struggling artists. And at some point they said, nah, we ain't coming. And I was just like, what? And I just, you know, felt like there was this fork in the road with our lives. These are friends I grew up with, you know, since elementary school, and we just had to, you know, grow. And sometimes that means growing apart in a way. And I was kind of channeling that a little bit, just trying to realize that you can love someone and still, you know, let them go. And that's what I felt what was going on with Jane, and Danny. He has these roots that he appreciates, and she's following her heart. That's what I thought was so beautiful about their relationship. There's so much respect there and so much love there that you just kind of see both of them for who they are, and they just had to life happens, and it's kind of a beautiful way to tell that story without it feeling all cliche. It just felt so real and organic, and Lauren really wrote that and beautifully. And even Tig and Steph, the way they executed the scene was just nice. Just their scenes were so down to earth, and so I appreciate them letting us kind of find those moments that they shared. And it was it's like one of my favorite characters, because they just let us kind of just be a little bit without trying to force, yeah. It was a breath of fresh air, to be honest, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is really character-driven comedy. I love, it has one of the saddest birthday scenes I've seen in a while.
I'm saying, it's just you like them both, even you respect them both, even after the breakup. It's no one cheated on them. It's just it's, I don't know, it's just heart-wrenching because it just happens.
All of you seem to have such a great camaraderie. I mean, so Sonoya and Dakota, you have this great sisterly kind of bonds there. How did you go about creating that? Because there's a very specific dynamic between you two as well.
I think in times when you are in a difficult or stressful moment, you bond with people, because we weren't able to really spend time together. We had dinner. I made Sonoya dinner once, and but other than that, we just were on set with masks and shields on, and not able, being yelled at if we were standing too close to each other by the COVID police. It was it was honestly really, really silly. It would be we'd be super cuddly and in a bed together in a scene, and then what they'd call cut in between takes, we'd have to put on masks and shields, and it doesn't make any logical sense. It just makes things more difficult. So I think we bonded over it being a bit difficult.
And the shields are now, no one's wearing them, but at the time it was as if you didn't have the shield on, you were going to die. And they seemed unnecessary with your mask, but we all had to have them on.
Yeah, but then you guys were just wearing them as necklaces.
I still do.
It was a bib. Yeah. And it was just down here, a plastic bib.
Yeah.
It caught all of our lunch, and it was low budget, so you do what you have to do.
I mean, Sonoya, I love your character because, I mean, she, we start out, we think she knows everything about Dakota's character, Lucy. And then there comes a point in the movie where Lucy literally says, "You don't know anything about me," and finding, going from that place of such confidence and everything to then a place of real uncertainty. How did you find that?
Yeah, I really liked that because it felt so true of my experience of being in those kind of codependent relationships, because one person is half of a person, the other person's the other half of a person. So you think you've got all bases covered, but then really you don't, because there's this whole other part that you're not really seeing because you don't have to see it. I really liked that. I thought it was really true to what those kind of relationships are like. And I think it's also really scary for Jane, because she likes to be in control, and she likes to know what's going on, and she does think she knows everything about Lucy, and then then at some point everything kind of changes, and she's this relationship that they have is going to change, and it's kind of scary for her, I think, to feel that what was so kind of contained and felt so right is definitely going to change. But in that change happening, they're going to be more truer versions of themselves. So it's for the best.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. I mean, I love that these characters are on such a journey. And Lauren, I mean, your journey and in terms of writing the script and now seeing it made and made under, you know, these very difficult circumstances of COVID and all. I mean, like, how many years ago did you first start writing this, and what do you think of the final result? Like, could you have ever imagined like ending up at this particular point right now?
Ever. No. I started writing it probably about 2015, maybe even a little earlier than that, actually, because I think I officially came out in 2015. So a little before that, and then I kind of zeroed in on it around then. But yeah, like I said, I did not want to talk about it with anyone. And so the idea of it being a movie now where it's all out there is, it's, I can't believe it. I didn't think it through.
That's the magic of Sundance, even though we're all apart and this is just a virtual edition. I mean, it's so cool to see, you know, your first feature film that you've written, Stephanie and Tig, their directorial debut. You know, obviously IndieWire, we're all about, you know, celebrating filmmaking, celebrating the craft. I want to ask you guys, you know, as a fun note to end on, what's a moment that you can remember, like, of a movie that really had the power to bring people together from throughout your life, like a specific experience of seeing a movie that just had this amazing power to connect?
I don't know why this is what came to mind, but I went and saw the movie Tree of Life at the ArcLight in LA, and I was the only one there. And I was sitting in the back where you have assigned seats. And then right as the movie was starting, another guy came in and he sat, there was one seat between us where his assigned seat was. And so we had this huge theater and just the two of us were there alone. And we watched that movie, which is like the most sort of like existential, life affirming, intense experience. And I loved it. And then at the end of it, it was as if we had to like share in that love. And we just sat there talking about life and the movie and the beauty. And then obviously I never saw him again, but it was like a moment that I can't believe happened. And I loved it.
When I was a kid, I never really went to the theater because my dad would bootleg the movies instead and bring them home. But one movie he brought home was Friday. And it was something about Friday that would just like, it was, you know, nothing really mattered as far as my household goes, because it's a crazy house. And we'd watch that and, you know, just, you know, laugh and just kind of look at each character and how they reminded us of different people from our neighborhood and shit like that. So Friday was like my movie.
That's so awesome. Well, hey, guys, you know, I hope that this movie has that power to connect people too. And I think it will. I think a lot of people will see themselves and their own journeys in it, as well as just having a really good time, because it's so much fun and funny, and a really relatable journey. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys talking to us today.
Thank you.
Christian.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Here, everyone.